Hey guys, sometimes certain options trades are just too easy. In this video, we're going to break down a specific earnings play. Whoa, hold on, Leonardo. What do you mean? You're not going to talk about the Federal Reserve? It's at 2 o'clock. Man, what are we going to do? We're going to short. We're going to buy call. What are we going to do, Leo? It's at 2 p.m. The Federal Reserve. Guys, some of the greatest options opportunities arise due to mispricing in the options. So while everybody is paying attention to the Federal Reserve meeting and what's going to be said and the language and the verbiage and how it's going to be done, we're going to focus on one of the easiest trades you can be putting on together as an options trader today on June 16, 2021. In order to bring some light to the background of this trade, first we're going to glance at the chart of lumber. And yes, if you were trading futures with us under our coaching program, guys, we have actually nailed this top in lumber prices within 20 points, guys. We've called the top in lumber prices right here while everybody was asleep, while everybody was so still bullish. Man, guys, if you didn't take advantage of this magnificent drop trading futures in lumber, make sure you click the link below, take all of our courses, and damn it, get a coach to work with you. Guys, lumber. Why are we looking at the lumber chart? Wow. So we literally went from $1,700 to $1,000 level in the prices of lumber. Now, you may think, oh my God, the greatest opportunity is gone here. But the purpose of this video is to actually break down to you how you can utilize this information right here on this one chart that tells you what's about to happen to an entire sector where a lot of people are going to get caught off guard. So the lumber price right here, topping out at this level, creating a solid downtrend, and the death cross right here, guys, points to the fact that the top in the housing sector has been reached. So don't worry if you missed on the lumber trade for right now. Let's focus on how you can interpret this chart right here to help you put a highly profitable trade between now and next 72 hours. Trading short-term options expiration. What this chart really represents right here, guys, this is a top in lumber prices, and this is a sharp fall-off, which literally portrays that home builders' demand for construction materials all of a sudden drops off a cliff. Now, if they're not buying lumber, what do you think is going to happen when they announce earnings? And I'm going to specifically point to one company that is announcing earnings today that could put a ton of money in your pocket by tomorrow. So when these companies announcing earnings, it's not just about how profitable they are. It's about their guidance going into the future, going into the next quarter, going into the next yearly guidance. And so this right here tells us that their guidance is not going to be good. And if their guidance is not going to be good, if they're guiding sales numbers, revenue numbers lower, if they're missing the guidance numbers on potential EPS revenue projections, okay, that's not a reason to be buying the home builder stocks. So this chart really gives you an easy outlook of how the guidance numbers are actually going to look. So our bet is there's about an 80-90% probability that the guidance that's going to be given to most of the home builders going forward from here is not going to meet analyst expectations. And if that's the case, that would be the reason to sell home building stocks rather than buying, because this signifies the peak demand right here. And this signifies that going from here, home builders, okay, are lowering their targets for production of homes. They're lowering the targets for, clearly, if they're not producing as many homes, they can't meet as positive of targets on their sales numbers as they recently have been able to produce. Combining with what could be possibly said at the Federal Reserve announcement today, guys, this creates a rather negative picture for home building stocks, creates a rather negative picture for mortgage companies, and so on. So this chart right here basically is your evidence why the guidance from home building stocks is not going to be great. And it's actually a lot of these home building stocks, they're about to miss analyst estimates. Moving on to next evidence, we're going to take a look at a few charts of a few home builders before we're going to give you the trade of the day. So let's take a look And some of the stocks, one of the popular ones have been KBH, which is KB Homes. And let's examine the chart and what do you guys see? Before I give you the answer, try to focus on the chart and what pattern is about 100% obvious here. Guys, not often do you get a textbook example of a head and shoulder formation. So let me show you exactly the head and shoulder formation right here. Let's see if we can draw it out for you. So basically, this is your shoulder 1. This is your head of the formation. This is your shoulder 2. Now, specifically, this is highly dangerous. It's highly dangerous for the bulls, that is, and this is highly profitable for the short sellers, is this death cross. So it's not just the fact that we got a bearish head and shoulder, but the fact that currently we're under the orange, we're under the blue lines, and we're in the condition of a death cross and a head and shoulder pattern at the same time. So clearly, in the chart of KBH, I mean, this is not the typical stock that we would trade, and this is not the trade that we're putting on, but clearly you can see to just get back to the base right here, it's an easy $4 move. Now, we generally trade high volatility stocks, so this is an uncommon trade for us that I'm going to reveal to you at the end of this video, but just focus on the formation of the pattern right here, right now. It's a head and shoulder with a death cross. KB Homes. All right, and the reason we're doing this, just give you an idea that it's the entire sector that's creating this bearish pattern. So Pulte Homes, PHM, let's take a look and see if we can identify a pattern right here. Guys, what a beauty. My God, look at this. I mean, this is a classic example of a head and shoulder. So this is your head and shoulder. One of the characteristics of a classic head and shoulder is pay attention to the volume. Pay attention to the volume right here in the head part of the formation. So as you can see, when Pulte hits all-time highs right here, look at what happens to the volume. The volume right here is actually moving lower, and it's followed through by a much higher sell volume. So this is a classic head and shoulder formation, and what do we have? The death cross right here, guys. This is a beautiful head and shoulder formation. Gives you a high probability of the next move lower here in the stock. So after the head and shoulder, you've got a cross. You've got a clear cross moving downward, which is a rather bearish sign right here, guys. So, and it is just happening right here on the chart. While the volume is higher to the downside, I mean, this is a classic situation where something can go substantially lower from here. Now, that was the chart of Pulte Homes. Let's take a look at one more right here, HOV. HOV chart has already formed a death cross formation, as you can see. And even though this is not a 100% head and shoulder formation, the chart formation is exceptionally negative. So look at this right here. Despite of this consistent action of a sell-off that's been going on from 145 all the way down to the 90 level, guess what? There's still more room to go because RSI, even though it's at the lowest point on the chart, but RSI could actually drop to 10 here in HOV, putting us easy in what most of the market participants can't foresee happening, which is large moves in home building stocks. Home building stocks don't move like technology stocks, but clearly what you've got here is an outlier. I mean, this thing right here, if you take a look at this part of the chart, it was able to move almost $15 in one day here. So if we get an equal match move to the downside here, I mean, we could be, you know, to an 75 level. This will get you paid, guys, on HOE. But the chart that we really want to focus on right now is one of the companies, one of the home building companies that's going to report earnings tonight after hours. And based off the fact that everybody's so focused on the Federal Reserve, I think the market is really mispricing the options. So the takeaway from what we've seen so far, we've got a peak demand from the home builders based off the chart of lumber. We've got numerous stocks. You can plug pretty much any home building stock. They are in a bear trend at this point, which is the circumstance where you want to short the bounces. We're taking a look at the chart of Pulte Home, HOV Homes. We're taking a look at KBH. And all of them are showing either a head and shoulder formation with a death cross or they're showing a bearish formation right here on the HOV chart with a def cross, so pointing to a lower moves in the entire sector. So when you have the entire sector pointing lower, you want to identify what exactly do you want to trade in that sector, and you want to identify the catalyst. So here's our catalyst, Lennar Homes. Guys, what do you see? Lennar is announcing earnings tonight after market close on June 16th. And what are we seeing is the same identical pattern that I've just shown you in multiple other home building stocks. So we've got head and shoulder formation right here. Same kind of volume characteristic. When the stock hits the high, okay, there is non-existent volume on the buy side, okay, and that resolves into the other shoulder. Now the conditions of this head and shoulder happens while we're getting a def cross. The stock is trading under the orange, under the blue, guys. This is a beautiful setup. As a matter of fact, if you take just this part of the chart right here, this is how Bitcoin created some of the most bearish patterns recently when we predicted the drop in Bitcoin from 60K all the way down to 30K. And by the way, I am going to post another Bitcoin video, so for those of you that are trying to stay close and follow the Bitcoin price movements, it is following the historic analog precisely. And by the way, if you missed out the last video, which is titled 5 Days Until the Crash, we literally got a crash coming in Bitcoin and the market in the next 72 hours here to 96 hours, guys. So be ready. It's going to be phenomenal opportunities for trading directional options short term. So with that said, let's focus back on LEN chart, Lennar Homes. Bearish formation, bearish crossover, bearish chart pattern. RSI still got a ton of room. A ton of room to drop lower. We're nowhere where the stock could actually sell off. And where could we go, guys? In the next few days, we could see the stock at about 82 level. Now, that is a pretty aggressive move for a stock like this. You could be saying, hey, it only moves about 50 cents to $1 a day. But if you look at the recent history, in not so distant past, I mean, we had a situation where the stock has been making some rather outsized move to the tune of $13 in one given day, following day about $5, $6. So we can easily see a move in the stock of Lennar to the magnitude of about $5 after it announces earnings. Currently, the stock trading at 92.28 at the time of recording. This is about 11 a.m. on June 16th. And the first target we'll be considering taking some profits would be about 87. The second target would be 85. And the third target would be about 82 bucks. Now, the time frame for these targets would actually be anywhere from tomorrow to Monday. So when you're positioning, it makes sense to buy some options that expire this week. It makes sense to buy some options on the put side that expire next week, and just stay, because if you look at the chart pattern in HOV, which I just shown you a minute ago, it makes multiple moves lower. So we're expecting not just a one-day move lower, but we're expecting at least 3, 4, up to 5 days move lower in Lennar. So we're not expecting a sharp drop of 10 points after it reports earnings. We're expecting a move lower, which is going to be continued over the course of the next few days. So specifically, what could you be doing? Let me show you right here. If we take a look at the option chain, let's take a look at the option chain. We've got LEN. If you're looking at, all right, so this is Lennar option chain. As you can see in real time right now, it's trading 92.35, 92.39. Your 90 strike puts, they are only, guys, they are only about $1.10, $1.25. Considering our average target on this is 85, this gives you a 4-5x trade, meaning for every $1,000 that you invest in a 90 strike put, you could be potentially getting back as much as $4,000 to $5,000. Now, if the other target is reached by Friday of about 82.5, this 90 strike puts could be worth as much as $7. Now, again, if let's say you're buying 30 of these contracts, you could be scaling out. The moment it hits 87 bucks, you could be collecting some profits there. When it hits 85, you could be selling another 10. When it hits 82, you could be selling another 10. Now, clearly, there's going to be some bounces in the midst of this move, so make sure you're not jumping out on the bounces, but rather you're focusing on getting into the put side on the bounces. So this is a pretty easy trade, and considering this options premiums. There's a beautiful situation. While the market participants are so focused on the Federal Reserve meeting, these options seem to be highly underpriced. Generally, this is pretty good pricing considering these are home builders, but if you take in a closer look to some of the recent moves the stocks have been making not so long ago, if we're to get a mirror image of these moves to the downside, we can get, instead of a $2-3 drop on LEN, we can get a $5, $7, up to $10 drop in the next few days here. And this could be a phenomenal opportunity because that's what creates a situation where you could be locking in 4x, 5x, 7x type gains. So again, guys, focus on this chart. Play the foundation area right here for your final exit. If you still have any questions about how to put these trades together, make sure you click the link below. Schedule a 20-minute coaching call with a senior trader here at 13 Market Moves, guys. And I will post a video at some point today on the Federal Reserve announcement. So if you're new here, make sure you click the subscribe button so that you wouldn't miss out on any upcoming videos, guys. There is a huge move in the markets that's boiling here. I just broke down the easiest trade that you could be taking. But the reality is there's so many trades that are 15x, 20x, 30x trades. So don't waste a moment. Make sure you click the link below. Take our courses. Sign up to trade with a coach. It doesn't matter whether you trade stock options. Doesn't matter if you trade futures. Doesn't matter if you trade crypto. We've got a program to place you with a coach that can help you take your account to the moon. Let's roll, guys. I'll catch you in the next video soon.